Good day everyone. What I'd like to do in this video is just take you through how to make a very basic but very functional geocache. So if you're a person who's maybe got into geocaching recently, you've decided you'd like to get into hiding caches yourself, this might be of use to you. What we'll be doing is making a small size cache, and we'll be using the very popular, or at least popular here in Australia, Systema container. That's the brand name, Systema. It is a clip lock plastic container, and importantly in the lid it's got, see that blue, dark blue there, that's a plastic O-ring. If you're going to use these type of containers, plastic containers, don't use the normal lunchbox that don't have an O-ring. You need something a bit more weatherproof and with a strong sort of locking mechanism. If you can find the ones that have got a clip on all sides, I think they're probably even slightly better again, but the Systemas are a good thing, which is why you trip over them so often out there when you're out geocaching. They do work. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that now over ingredients here, and we're going to turn it into something not dissimilar to that. What are our other ingredients? Well, we'll get the camera in a little bit closer and we'll go through that, and then we'll get down to work. Stick with me. Okay, so let's look at the ingredients of this recipe. We've already got our container, our Systema container, so we'll put that off to one side. What else do we need? Well, any geocache has to have a logbook. So we've got one of these notebooks. We'll be cutting that down to size because, as you can see there, it doesn't fit in the container, but that's easy. Now, with logbooks, and also we're doing a pen, things like pens, those cheapy shops where they got all the stuff that basically you wonder how they could make it so cheap, they're your best friend. I think that bag there of 10 pens I got for $1, so you're talking 10 cents a pen. These things, 3 notebooks in a pack, I think they're only about $1 as well. So when you're going past a place like that, if you're going to get into geocaching and hide in geocaches, drop in and have a look, because they're a good resource. You also get swap items. I've got odds and bits and pieces here. There's soldiers and animals and coins, all sorts of things. Just cheap stuff that you can put in. It's great if kids find your cache, they like to swap items in and out. So I have a few of those laying around. Haven't spent much money, but it's amazing the stock that I've accumulated over a period of time. What else do we have? We've got a snap lock plastic bag. Now in that's going to go our logbook to keep it dry in case any moisture gets into our cache container. If you can get one of the ones that's got the double snap lock, even better, great thing. We also need a cache note, or a hide note, which this is what explains to people who find it accidentally what it is and why it's out there. You can print these off the internet, just do a search for geocache stash note or something like that, and you'll be able to just print these out. And again, that'll go in the plastic bag with the logbook. The other one we've got that I'll be using is some sandpaper, because what we'll be doing is, that's a very smooth surface. We're going to paint this thing and camouflage it. The paint won't adhere to that smooth surface, so we're going to rough it up. This is just a bit of 100 grit sandpaper, and that'll do the job on that. If you're mass producing these things and you've got an orbital sander like I have, terrific, go for it, but we'll just do this one by hand. And we mentioned paint. Now I've got some spray paint here. You could use brush on paint, you can do whatever you want really, but I've got some spray paint here. I've got some green, some brown and some matte black, so we'll be using those on this project as well. Alright, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is sand this thing up. Get it nice and rough. We don't need to get too crazy, but as you can see, it doesn't take too long. Get a nice rough surface on there. Get on the curves and all the corners as well, just so the paint's got something to adhere to. And we'll get that done. Won't take too long. And we'll come back in a few minutes when it's ready to go. Right, that's that done. Just put that back on there. You can see that's not looking as pristine as it did. You don't need to be neat or anything, just looking to get it nicely roughed up. Again, just so that paint's going to stick. So what we're going to do next is we'll get set up and start getting some paint on this thing. Okay, now I'm going to give this a coat of matte black just to get started. Importantly, if you are using spray paint, make sure you ventilate the area you're working, and if you can't ventilate an indoor area, take it outside. This stuff, the fumes will get to you pretty quick. So just give it a base coat to get started. I'll just tip it upside down. Just putting some gloves on so I can move it around without getting covered in paint myself. If possible, hit it from different angles so you'll get into all the little nooks and crannies. Give good coverage on it. Yeah, of course you could stop there if you wanted to. The black's already achieved our aim of making the thing harder to see, harder to pick up. However, the other thing you can do, and the idea of camouflage, is to give it maybe a couple more colours to blend it into whichever environment you choose to put it in, but also to help break up that shape because it's still a very unnatural looking shape. So we're going to hit it with a little bit of green, just a little bit random. You don't want to be too orderly with how you do this. In fact, it's almost the enemy. Nature itself tends to be quite random, so we want to do it the same. There's no right or wrong way. Whatever looks good, whatever feels good. Okay, so we'll put a bit of brown on this now. Okay, that's the paintwork finished. Probably a little bit too dark, maybe that brown could have been a bit lighter, but this is a good all-purpose colour for bush in my environment. If you sort of put this in like some foliage or something, it'll blend in pretty well, pretty much anywhere. Okay, so next what we're going to need to do is get some contents for this thing. First thing we want is obviously our logbook, and it's not going to fit, so what we need to do is cut that down. So we're going to cut it to around about there. Just get a straight edge. And we'll slice that down. Be very careful if you're not used to using these type of tools. Well, take your finger off in a heartbeat if you're not careful, or fingertip anyway. Alright, easy as that. One cut down logbook, and that fits in there rather neatly. And really that's all you need to do for a logbook. If you want to do little fancy border or something on page 1 first to find, which I generally like to do, you can do that. You can customise the inside really on, basically that's a basic note, but I might just do my first to find borders, and then we'll come back and pile the rest of the stuff in. Okay, so that's the logbook finished. I just put a sticker on the front, Australian sticker. I've got a pile of those laying around, and just a little bit of a decoration on the front page for the first to find, whoever gets the cache first. And after that it's just plain logbook. So we've got our stash note. What I'm going to do is just fold that up, and that's going to go in the plastic bag with the logbook. This is a white plastic bag that we had earlier. What I'll do is try and get it open. So these are a really important thing to put in if you can. It just gives you that much better chance of not having the logbook get all wet and horrible, and it's going to reduce the amount of maintenance you possibly have to do on your cache as well. Some people like to put the pen in the bag. I used to do that, and sometimes still do, but occasionally pens can poke through the bag, so I tend not to do that anymore. Speaking of pens, you don't have to supply a pen in your logbook, but in your cache, but a lot of people do. Now, we've got a bit of a problem if we use a pen. It doesn't fit. It sort of reminds me of the old space story, really. They say the Americans spent millions designing a pen that'll work in space, and the Russians took a pencil. You could just put a pencil in, obviously, and cut it down to size, or you could use a pen. I prefer to go for a pen, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to cut that down to size rather than buy the expensive miniature pens that you see in shops and things. We're going to alter this little 10-cent pen and get it to do the job for us. Right, so we're going to cut this pen down so it'll fit in this cache. Need to cut it down to around about there, just past that vent hole. So what we do first, take the cap off. I was going to say take the inside of the pen out, but it's come out with that, so that's fine. We take that out, and I use a hacksaw. You could probably use whatever else you want, but I've got a hacksaw handy, so that's what I'm going to use to cut that outside tube down. They can be quite brittle, so just take your time with it. Another good reason to use cheap pens if you do stuff it up. You're not out of money a lot. Okay, get a pair of pliers. We need to get that little end cap out. Just going to break that. Get that piece out. Get rid of that extra piece. And now we've got to cut this down. You want to make this a little bit shorter than the pen. So what I tend to do is just line it up like so. And we're going to take that down to around about there. Grab my little sharp knife again. And trim that off. Now, there's an important thing you need to do here. Whenever you buy a pen, you'll notice that tubes aren't full to ink like that is right now, and that's because of heat and cold they expand and you'll get oil, ink leak in your oil. It's ink, isn't it? So just grab your pliers, not towards the end, pinch that till some of that ink comes out. Just have an old bit of rag laying around, wipe that on that, and that's all you really need to do. We'll just flatten that back out again. Okay, so what we're going to do now is insert that back into our pen. We're going to put the end cap back on up here, like so, and put our cap on. Magic, we've got a pen that fits in our cache container. Too easy, and it's an awful lot cheaper than buying the ones you see in the shops, the special small ones that you find around. Okay, so what we need to do now, we're just about there. We just need to stock up our cache of a few swap items, that type of thing. So I'll grab our box of bits and pieces from over here and see what will fit. Oh, we've got a dinosaur that'll fit. We'll put a couple of those little toy soldiers in. What else have we got here? Miniature basketball. I mentioned before, it's a good idea if you've got any of that desiccant, throw one of those things in just to help keep everything dry. Got some little bracelet things here, maybe for the girls who drop by the cache. Put one of these little coins in. I don't know what that is, but we'll put that in. That looks pretty interesting. Some kind of eraser or something. That'll do us for the moment. You don't want to put too much stuff in because people are going to put geocoins or swap or that type of thing in there. You want to leave a little bit of space. Put another solder in. There we go. I like to stock them up a little bit. So from there, we just put in our pen. We've got our logbook with our stash note in its plastic bag. Put our lid on the cache. We're ready to go find a spot to hide it. It's as easy as that. Thanks for watching, guys. Happy geocaching.